Hi everyone, Katharine and Dave here. We are back for another episode of the Fantasy Fitnessing podcast. We're going to cover off a couple different game types that we run on our website and dig into Rogue a bit. About a week and a half, just over a week till that starts. So yeah, time to get excited. So first things first, leagues for the salary cap game. How do they work?
Right. So if you sign up for fantasyfitnessing.com with your free account, when you play, we got a global leaderboard. So you're able to see how you do against everybody in the teams. But when it comes to bragging rights, it's just fun to have a condensed view of just you and your buddies. So there's a couple ways you can do this on Fantasy Fitnessing right now. So when you sign up, or even if you edit your profile, you're able to enter your affiliate name. So you can go in and enter the name of your box, and then everybody that plays Fantasy Fitnessing there will automatically appear on one leaderboard, so you're able to see how you do with all your friends there. Or if you go through, you can actually create a league. So there's a leagues tab at the top. You can create either a private league, which will have a code to sign up, so it's only just you and your buddies, or a public lead. But basically that'll create a kind of condensed leaderboard just for the people in that league. So that way, if you have something that you're fighting for or competing against, you can just see a breakdown of just the people in the league. So again, just another way to add a little bit more fun to it. You're able just to see that, you're might be 50 places behind somebody on the global leaderboard, but if it's just you and your buddies, you might be right behind them, but you're only 20 points behind. So it just makes it easier to compete with your friends with the salary cap games.
Yeah, and competing with your friends is what fantasy sports is about. So
yeah,
a couple different ways to play the salary cap game, but within smaller groupings kind of thing. All right, and then the other game that we pretty much always have running as well is the draft game, kind of inside our draft rooms. So what are they?
Yeah, so a draft league, I guess I should say, when there's two types of ways to create a league. So when you go through and create your league, there's a league type. So if you just run general, you just play the base game, which is typically the salary cap game for us on Fantasy Fitnessing, or you can create a draft league. So in a draft league, you go through and draft your teams. So how this differs from the salary cap game is that you just draft 3 men and 3 women. You're going in order, a random order for the people in your league, and each athlete can only be drafted once. So there's a little bit more strategy that goes into it. So you need to, be able to, help rank your athletes, how you see them fit. And then it also makes it a bit more challenging because everybody can't get Tia when Tia competes because you think she's going to win. So, causes a little bit more strategy, but also it can be a lot more fun because not everybody has Tia. So there's a lot more that goes into it. Anybody can still play since it does have some draft orders available for you if you're not as, or some people in the league that don't follow CrossFit as closely as you may. But again, just a little bit extra fun since each athlete can be picked once. So there's a lot more swings in it. If there's, a good event that your team finishes across the podium on, you can make up a lot more ground than the salary cap game, which you might have 2 or 3 athletes overlapping with the people in your league. So just spices it up a bit.
Yeah, draft leagues are kind of fun because you can't have the same athlete. Even when you and I pick salary cap game, we have overlap of at least 2 usually.
Yeah.
So when we run a draft, then only one of us gets the person that we both actually want, which is fun. All right, so those are kind of a little synopsis of the games we've got going for Rogue. And now let's look a little bit at Rogue.
Yeah, so I guess just preparing for Rogue, I started to take a peek just to see, who I would see placing up the rankings, who I'd see kind of at the top of the leaderboard. And just a lot of the narrative last year was that it was a heavier competition or a strength event. So really started to take a peek at that today just to see, is that true? If it was true, who would I would expect to see based off of the results so far this year? So diving into it, and I guess the first thing I was able to I took a look at was just kind of the breakdown of movements between, last year's Rogue and the games this year and games last year. So taking a peek, looking at the 2020 games with the different movements or exercises, those that were in the 2020 games events, there's a breakdown of 15 weightlifting movements, 10 monostructural or cardio movements, and 10 gymnastics. So 35 total movements, although like running's duplicated because it was in so many different events. But so 15, 10, 10 from weightlifting to cardio to gymnastics. So really, a little bit like 40% of the movements were weightlifting. Going back to Rogue last year, again, shorter competition, but there was 10 weightlifting movements, 5 monostructural movements, and 5 gymnastics movements. So definitely see more of a thing skewing towards weightlifting itself, with half of the movements being weightlifting. And then even some of those gymnastics movements, like there was the rope climbs and the over-unders last year that where people were in a vest to do anyway. So again, it kind of negates the gymnastics elements of it when you're wearing a vest to begin with. So it's interesting to see like there is more of a skew to the weightlifting component at Rogue last year. And even compared to the games this year, the games, there was 15 weightlifting, 11 monostructural, and 11 gymnastics. So similar breakdown to the 2020 games, even though it was Boz versus Castro. But so definitely with Rogue, there is more of an emphasis on the weightlifting movements themselves.
Yeah.
So
that's what everybody expects when it comes to Rogue.
Yes, that's what they make. So, however, looking at it, like I don't know necessarily what that means for the actual. I don't think it necessarily means that it is rewarding the strong athletes as much as it is probably penalizing more of the cardio athletes or the gymnastics experts. Like, Daniel Brandon's not going to get a win from a handstand walk event because there probably isn't going to be a handstand walk at Rogue. Or Christiane O'Connell, there isn't going to be a 5K run. And it's just not likely based off of the events that we're going to see at Rogue itself. And then, looking at it a bit more just in terms of the actual weights that, went on with Rogue, just again, get a sense to see if what their programming is going to be just naturally heavier than what we would see at a game. So just last year, just for some comparison's sake, took a look at the Echo Burner event from Rogue last year. So this one had 20 thrusters at 115.75, 40 cals, 32 cals on the Echo bike, and then another 20 thrusters at 115.75. So again, like the athletes at this level, top 20 athletes in the world pretty much, they were able to just fly through these from an actual cycling standpoint. But just, trying to do some comparisons for what that thruster weight looked like. So going back to the 2020 games, they had the 21:59 Echo Bike and Snatch event. So again, similar structure, similar time frame. They did snatches at 105.75. So again, similar type of time frame. It's kind of similar weights, similar ballpark and type of weights. And then at the event where they did have the thrusters, it was the wall walk thruster event last year. It was 10.987 all the way down to 1 of wall walks and thrusters, and they did thrusters at 185, 135 at the games last year. So significantly heavier, but again, much different style of workout than at Rogue. And then CrossFit Games this year, their thruster workout was Jackie Pro, which was the 1,000-meter row, 50 thrusters, 30 bar muscle ups. And so for those 50 thrusters, it was 95.65. Again, different style workout, but kind of similar. So wouldn't really say it's significantly heavier Rogue versus the games in terms of the actual weights themselves.
Yeah, that's interesting to actually compare like across the two. Sweet. All right. So we know like the events that happen there.
Yeah.
So what are sort of some picks that you would have, or who's going to be there that we should watch out for?
Yeah, so I guess the only hint that we have at Rogue so far is the log. It seems like they're hinting whatever the log lift is as part of the event. So I'm kind of hypothesizing that's probably going to be used for the max lift event as opposed to cycling during a workout, but I don't know, we shall see. So I guess also kind of comparing the strength aspect, did a breakdown of the kind of pure strength events that we've seen so far this year with the field that we see at Rogue. So over the course of the 2022 season, and you are able to kind of see this full list here on our Patreon. So going back quarterfinals, first event that we see here was the other total. So just kind of based off of the athletes that we see, on the women's side, Dani Spiegel was first, Kara Saunders second, Laura Horvath third, Amanda Barnhart fourth, which again is a really similar trend when you look across the strength events this year. Moving on to the barbell complex that we saw at semifinals, with the athletes competing, same top four: Dani Spiegel first, Kara Saunders second, Laura Horvath third, Amanda Barnhart fourth. So there, moving over to the Capitol, also took a look at kind of the odd object events that we see, since there was a bunch of that last year with farmer carries and such, and sandbag carries at Rogue. And we see there, the Capitol, Megala was first, Horvath second, Daniel Brandon sixth, Amanda Barnhart seventh. Again, so very similar names. Megala was actually sixth in the field for the total and fifth for the barbell complex. So again, she's right up there. Sandbag clean, Spiegel first, Dahlstrom second, Horvath third, Barnhart fourth. Again, three of the four names there again. Had the shuttle to overhead max jerks, which again, there's kind of the sprint and then the lift, but again, Brandon first, Emma Lawson second, Brandon was second overall, Lawson was fourth, Garns fifth, Megala sixth. So again, similar names. And then the back nine, which was the yoke, heavy front squats, heavy deadlifts. Again, similar names. Horvath, Barnhart, Megala, Spiegel were the top from the Rogue field there. So when picking a team, looking at Horvath, she's probably the one that stands out to me. She's been on the podium for the last two games and at Rogue last year. Or I guess she was fourth at Rogue last year. She seems to be standout, kind of reinforces why she's on my fantasy team. But again, with the emphasis on strength, seeing those names at the top regularly makes me think that they're probably up there in terms of people to watch at Rogue.
Yeah, those are definitely names that would be in the top section of the women's leaderboard for sure.
I guess then, switching over to the men, I think this one kind of jumps around a bit more depending on the events itself, but one name to look out for is Jack Farlow. So again, he's, can't remember, he finished in eighth or so at Atlas Games, but looking at, the other total, Chandler Smith first, Farlow was second, Hopper and Jorge Fernandez. So out of the top four finishers in that event from the Rogue field, three of them were qualifiers. So that's kind of interesting to see that perspective. Just might shake things up from what we would normally see if there is that emphasis on the strength or weightlifting components of the event. On the barbell complex from semifinals, again, Jack Farlow was tops in terms of the Rogue field. Nick Matthew, Medeiros, Krenikov, Adler. Over to the Capitol, you got Ricky Gerard, who ended up winning that event. Krenikov was second. Sam Quant, Jason Hopper, and then Adler were the top five finishers from this Rogue field. Sandbag, obviously, you got Nick Matthew, who was the first there, Jason Hopper, Medeiros, and then Saxon Panchik. Shuttle to overhead, the max jerks, Jeff Adler, Saxon, Ricky, Gerard, Hopper, Medeiros, and then the back nine here: Adler, Medeiros, Quant, Vernikov, and Vellner. So again, like there is a bit more of a mix than we saw from the women's field there, but again, there's the same names are up there. You got, Adler had a couple event wins in those events at the games. He's a common name. Quant's up there. Hopper's up there a bunch. So probably some people that do have some higher potential at Rogue compared to how they finished the games, especially Adler and Hopper. I think they were, fifth and seventh, or sixth and eighth respectively. So interesting to see those kind of common names up there consistently.
Yeah, like some of them aren't surprising, but then, to see Adler so consistently and Hopper so consistently up there, like they're strong guys, they do make sense to be up there for sure.
Yeah. So then, also excited to see the qualifiers up there. I know we talked about it last week with, Chandler kind of hopefully on his redemption tour, but then also Jack Farlow in there. It's kind of the younger guy who probably, stir things up a bit, just given his ability to lift things. So,
yeah, it's kind of exciting that there's like a younger athlete on both sides with Olivia Kerstetter on the women's and Jack Farlow on the men's. To they missed the games, like Olivia Kerstetter just stayed in her age group, but they missed the games, so we don't get to see them kind of throw down until they do make the games. So I'm really excited that they made it to Rogues, then we can see earlier in their career, maybe before they can actually make the games, how they actually stack up and how they can improve. So yeah, I think it'll be fun to watch both those.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I think that is it for today for fantasy. Just trying to get excited for Rogue. Our games are live. Log on at fantasyfitnessing.com. It's all free to play. If you want to make it more fun, get some buddies together, create a league, get some skin in the game. And anything else, Dave?
No, that's about it. I think we'll lock down before the first event, I think on whatever Friday is, 28th, 29th.
The 28th.
Yeah. So once we have a better idea of the schedule there, we'll shut things down before the first event and then update the leaderboard as the results come in. So definitely looking forward to some live CrossFit action.
Yeah, it's going to be good. All right. Sounds good. Well, you guys take care and we'll see you on the leaderboard.